lot of teachers here that haven't heard about this or just know just a little bit. So the first part of this is going to be just what you learned this morning. All right, so the environmental rating scale family goes like this. This morning we learned about ECERS R. And ECERS R is for birth to 2.5 years, which is 30 months. Okay? And that means infant toddler environmental rating scale. Now, there used to be just the first one that ever came out called ECERS and ECERS, nothing next to it, okay? But they did a revised edition, and that's what we learned about this morning was ECERS R, which just means ECERS revised, okay? They have also come out with a new version, the third edition of ECERS, which is now called ECERS 3, okay? And it's a little different when you see the age group. It is for infants up to 36 months, okay? So this is the one we learned about this morning. This is ECERS R, and this is the third edition, ECERS 3. You can know the difference because ECERS R, it's going to be bound on the side, and 3 is at the top, okay? All Stars, which is the reason why Rhonda wanted me to come here this afternoon, is because All Stars is still using the revised version of ECERS, okay? But All Stars is now using 3 for ECERS. So that's the next one. ECERS R, which is not being used right now with All Stars. That is for children 2.5 to 5 years of age. And that's this one here because it's found on the side. But All Stars is now using ECERS 3. Okay, and it's the newest one. It is for children 3 to 5 years of age. The way you determine that is at least 75% of the children during the observation time are 3 years, or 75% of them are 3 or older, then you have to use the ECERS 3. Okay? There's also 2 other ones. FACA, which is a family child care, and it is for children 0 to school age. There has not been a third edition. It's still the R. And then there is a school-aged one, which is children 5 to 12, and there is still the R. Also, there is not a 3 yet. It is still the revised. Okay? So that is the environmental rating scale family. We're going to focus on this afternoon, ECERS 3. Okay? There is a lot of similarities from the ECERS R and the ECERS 3. There are also some major changes of that, okay? And that's what I'm going to go over today. So we've already talked about that. Okay, so the environmental rating scales is internationally recognized evidence because it's an improvement tool that helps you in your environment of your classroom and your interactions with young children. It enables you to improve anything that's going on in your classroom by having someone to come in and do this scale. What a way to think about this is, it's an observation tool, it's like snapshots of the day that you are observed. The observation lasts for 3 hours. It's usually always done in the morning because that is where we see the most interaction is in the morning time. The environmental rating scales are to help guide quality improvement efforts in any early childhood classroom. It's inclusive, which means that it's suitable for both inclusive programs and culturally diverse. There is, however, an inclusive scale also, okay? Now, they are not using this in Kentucky right now for the All-Stars because ECERS and ECERS, it's intertwined, like there's different items in the scale that talks about inclusive. But this would be one that could be done to see how inclusive your classroom is if you have children in your classroom with identified special needs or disabilities. The environment rating scale is designed to assess process quality. And so what is process quality and what are the skills looking at? Process quality consists of various interactions that go on in the classroom between the teachers and the children. It's interactions that they look between the staff, so the adults, any of the parents that would come into your classroom, and then any other adults that might enter your classroom. It also looks at the interactions within children themselves. It also looks at the interactions children have with the materials in the environment. So, a couple things are looked at in the environmental rating scale. Materials is one of those. Okay? Materials, the classroom itself, and the interactions that go on. One big change between ECERS R and ECERS 3 is, yes, you still have to have the materials in the classroom, but now a big part of ECERS 3 is the interactions that you have with the children in using the materials. So a lot of it was that you had to count the materials for this learning center. You had to have this many books. Well, you still have to have all that. But now it's how you use those materials, which is so important. Because what they were finding is that the scale was being done, and a lot of the interactions among the teachers, it was happening, but so much emphasis was put on the materials. Well, as teachers, we know it's not about the quantity of material, it's about the quality of materials that you have. How are you using those materials in the classroom? For example, one of the big things is about math. There are 3 new math items in the ECERS 3, and one of them is how you will use math with children, not using rote-style teaching. Rote-style teaching is memorization. So I've got my calendar up here. Let's count. 1, 2, 3. That's rote-style teaching. Children memorize. So you can say count to 10. Okay? Yeah, I've got children who can count to 10. But can you show me how many 8 is? Can you show me the quantity? How many is that? And that's the big thing that ECERS 3 is seeing, is we want children to understand, okay, why they're using those materials. And we'll talk more about that today. It also looks at process quality, also consists of looking at the space, which is the environment, the daily schedule, and the materials that support the interaction. We know that process quality is primarily, you can see it through observation. Okay. So there were a couple ladies that created the environmental rating scales, and they said that to have a quality classroom, you need these 3 basic things. You need protection from children's health and safety. If you don't have safety as your #1 priority in the classroom, nothing else is going to matter. After safety is healthy. Your classroom has to be healthy, and then you focus on the learning environment. Children cannot learn in an unsafe, safe, and healthy environment. Okay. So, to build positive relationships with other children and adults around them, that is something that is important for CARE, and opportunities for stimulation and learning through experiences, because we know children learn through hands-on experiences. So, the rating scale, this is how it works. This is how it is scored, okay? Now, in the ECERS, okay, there are 35 items that are scored, okay? I always have to look back because all of them are different on how many are scored, so I had to make sure I didn't give you wrong information. So, there are 35 items that are scored on the ECERS 3. Okay? So what I want you to understand is how the scoring works. Okay? It goes from left to right. So you have one of the books at your table. If everybody will open up their book and kind of just look at it as a group, if you will turn to page 27. Okay? Turn to page 27 in your book. Okay? I have another one up here, you all. Okay? All right, can everybody see one? You all don't have one to see? You got one? Okay. So, on page 27, I just want you to get an idea of how the scoring works. You go from left to right. Everything in the number 1 column is inadequate. And that is what you don't want. Okay? Someone read me the first thing under number 1. What's it say?
Very little or no gross motor equipment used both indoors and outdoors.
Okay? So, I don't want, okay, you want no's and all of that. If I put yes in that one, I have to stop there. I don't move on. What's the next thing say underneath 1?
Most of the equipment is not appropriate for the age and ability of the children.
Okay, so again, if I put yes on either one of those, I stop. And I can't go any further because I progressed from left to right to see what my score is. By reading those 2 right there, both of those is inadequate. Both of those are unsafe. Okay? Because a lot of times, not in all of the items, a lot of it's about safety. Because remember what I said, safety is our number 1 priority when we are with children. So, inadequate for 1 indicates a negative situation that needs to be corrected immediately. So, for me to progress over to 3, I had to put no. I had to mark no in both of those. If I mark yes, I stay there. I get a 1 for that item. How many items did I tell you there were in ECERS 3? 35. Okay? So that 1 out of 35, I'm going to get a 1 out of a 7. Well, it's not going to be very good. All right. So, let's say I put no's in both of those. Then, I'm going to read 3. Someone read me 3, underneath 3.
Equipment is used for less than 10 minutes
Oh, no, 3, sorry.
I was reading the third one. Some gross motor equipment is used by the children for at least 15 minutes of the observation.
So, one of the requirements is gross motor has to be for 30 minutes. Okay? So, okay, they're telling me 15 minutes and some of it was used. So I can't put a yes there. What's the next thing under that one?
At least half of the accessible equipment, both portable and stationary, is appropriate to the age and ability of the children, and no equipment that could be considered extremely dangerous is ever used.
Okay. So if I'm as a rater, if I think that, yes, then I'm going to put a yes. If I put yes in all of them underneath 3, I can move to 5. If I put yes in all of 5, I can move to 7. But if I already ones, what I put in ones? What do I have to put in ones?
No.
Okay. So if I put no's in ones, but then I get to 3, and I put no in one of those, I'm going to rate that as a 2. So, because if you look here, 2, 4, and 6 aren't on here because we step back for a number. So let's say all of my number 3s got yeses. So I moved over to 5. But on one of the 5s, I put a no. What's my score going to be? 4. Let's say I put all yeses on 5. I get to 7. and I put a no or 2 no's on 7, what's going to be my score? 6. Okay? Every item, those 35 items, gets scored by the rater that comes in. And then it is an average score among all 35. So I might get a 6 in gross motor. I might get a 4 in science. I might get a 5 in fine motor. I'm going to add all those numbers together and divide by 35 to come up with my average number. I do a lot of these scales. I've done a lot in my career, and I have yet to see a perfect score. And I don't think there should never be a perfect score, because there is not a perfect classroom out there. There's not a perfect teacher out there, okay? Some of us in here have been teaching a long time. I can still improve every year that I teach, okay? It's been a tough year and a half for me, because I have been teaching fully virtual, okay? It's been tough. I've learned a lot, and I've messed up a lot, okay? Because I went from a year ago in March to seeing my students on a Tuesday evening to the next Tuesday we were online. That's how quickly I went. And I thought we would be online for 3 weeks. Well, I just finished up teaching summer school, and I'm still online, and I just got told day before yesterday, Friday, that my classes would be online. They would be virtual because of the COVID cases rising. So, here I am back virtual. But, guess what? It is what I had to do, and I'm doing it now. But, again, needs of improvement, I can improve too. So, I've seen a lot of high school, like I've seen some 6.5 averages, and I say if you get 4.5 to 5, that's about an average score that we see. And that's, you can see, kind of in between up here. Okay? Yes?
On page 29, under number 5, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different parts. So if you got 4 of those instead of 5, then you still get a 4.
Whenever you do a no, go back.
But you worked so hard, got 4 of them.
Listen, I didn't make the scale.
Oh.
So, you have to talk to somebody else about that. All right, questions anybody has on how you score the environmental rating scales? Everybody got that now? So now you're going to understand if someone says, hey, that classroom got a 4.9, that classroom got a 5.7, you're going to understand now it was up to a 7 that they could get that for, okay? All right, so again, I've already explained. You go from left to right, okay? All right, Kentucky All-Stars, and that's why Rhonda has me here today, is because you guys are going to be going through those, okay? And it's like a hotel. You know how hotels have stars? It's the same thing with the Kentucky All-Stars for Child Care Centers, okay? Level 1 and 2 do not require an environmental rating scale. A level 1, if you are a level 1 star, that's pretty much just paperwork that you've done, okay? 2, 3, 4, and 5, you've actually had to do things for your, in your center. So, for to get a 3, 4, and 5, these are the requirements. Level 3, your classrooms just have to have the scale completed. So, if your child care center, if your center here served infants, then they would pick one of your infant rooms to do with the scale, one of your toddlers, one of your preschool, and then if you have after school, they're going to pick one of your after school. Literally, guys, every classroom is put in a hat and they pull out, and that's the classroom that they go to. That's how it works. Okay? They cannot. If you've got 4 preschool classrooms at your school, they don't have the manpower to do one for every one of those classrooms. So they pick one of those. That's how it works. So a level 3. Now there's also that's a whole other training Understanding Kentucky All-Stars, and you can actually go to Kentucky All-Stars and read about it on the internet. But for level 3, one of the many requirements is you just have to have the skill done. Level 4, there is a minimum score of a 4.0 per classroom. So that means that your infant room would have to have a 4.0 or higher, your toddler, your preschool, and then if you have after-school care schooling. For level 5, a minimum of a 5 out of 7 per classroom for that one. Okay? And again, there are many other requirements. That's just the part for the environmental rating scale. So, ECERS 3 scores, children in classes with higher ECERS scores have repeatedly been found to do better on outcomes that are considered very important, such as language ability, pre-academic skill, math and reading readiness. And again, this is one of the reasons that they have really stepped up on language development and math, okay, for scores to be higher. Relationships with teachers and social skills. So you can see all of that right there is what is happening in environmental rating scale. So here are just some differences and I did this just for my teachers in here who have been through an ECERS-R before. This kind of shows you. So when we look at this, there are 7 subscales, okay? Just like the infant toddler one, the ones of you this morning, okay? There are 7. Space and furnishings, personal care routine, language and reasoning, activities, interactions, program structure, and parent and staff. Some of those have changed now from the ECERS, for the ECERS 3. Now, for space and furnishings, it still says space and furnishings. Personal care routine says the same thing. Here's one of the changes. Language and reasoning is now language and literacy. And they've added 5 steps there for language and literacy that I'm going to talk about later on this afternoon. Activities is now considered learning activities because it is how children are learning, okay? How are they learning? If you have counting bears in your math center, what is the purpose of those counting bears? They want to see that teacher interaction of how you're going to work with that child or children with those counting bears. They want to see the interaction is a big thing. So when I've done the ECERS-R, I would have to go in and I would have to count, and you would have to have this many math activities, this many fine motor activities. Okay, but what are they learning with those materials? So what we were finding is a classroom that had unbelievable amounts of developmentally appropriate materials, okay? But their interactions weren't as high. We're actually scoring higher on the ECERS-R than a teacher that had materials, but her interactions or his interactions were way up here compared to this other teacher. But that teacher that had more, let's say, materials was scoring higher on a scale. No, about those interactions. Because we can have tons of materials, but it look good on the shelf. Yeah, they look good on the shelf. But what about that teacher? What about those interactions of that teacher? How are those children learning from those interactions? And that's a big part of it, okay? In your packet, you see that there's materials in there and some explanations because you're actually going to go in a preschool classroom and kind of evaluate it on what the materials and interactions need to be. So, this is activities. Now it's changed to learning, okay? Interaction is still the same. Program structure and program structure. Now, we talked about this morning. there's a parent and staff section. No longer is this a subscale. This is gone out of the ECERS 3. So this was an interview part where the teacher in the classroom was being interviewed by the rater, okay? So I went in and did my observation, and then after my observation was over, I pulled one of the teachers out, and I had specific questions to ask them. What they are finding there, it's very subjective. So here's one of the questions. One of the questions would be, Rhonda, do you feel like you get adequate time and breaks during the day? Okay, Rhonda could say, absolutely I do. Hey, I get all my breaks fine. Lucy could be in another classroom, and for some reason, her break, the breaker was late getting into her classroom, so then she didn't get all of her breaks. She wasn't in a very good mood about that, because breaks are important. So she said, no, our breaks are not, okay? We don't get the right time. Look how subjective that is, okay? So that was making the scores go low because they found it was very subjective. So this is gone now. This is no longer in ECERS 3, but it's still in the ECERS. So depending on which scale. So those are some of the subscale changes, okay? So 6 subscales and 35 items. I just had to count to make sure because I keep on looking at this one like, this is 7. So there are 6 subscales and 35 items because those items that we're going to talk about go into each one of the subscales. Okay? Questions so far? Is that thunder or is that
Wow.
Okay, questions? Questions so far anybody wants to ask me? Okay, let's move on. All right, so I'm going to talk about some key differences in the two, okay? And then you will use the scale because you will use this material checklist, which is, I call it a cheat sheet, because, oh my gosh, it is so helpful for you to go through. And it's got all the information that will help you when it comes to materials and some of the interactions. Okay. Some key differences. There's more emphasis on interactions and the teacher's role now in the ECERS 3. There's increased emphasis on engaging language, literacy, and math. And I'll be sharing some information about that and examples. There is less focus on counting the materials and more focus on how teachers use the classroom materials with the children. Isn't that why you chose this job? Is to teach, is to help children learn? We know how important the foundation is for young children in early childhood. If you had to describe the word foundation to somebody, what would be some words that would describe the word foundation to somebody? Some words. Support, baseline, strong, what? Build upon. So those words, guys, we are the foundation, and it's how we use the learning activities. Remember, it used to be activities, now it's learning activities. Math and science, okay? That's a big one, okay? Adding these 2 centers to your classroom will definitely help enhance your scores. However, they have to be 2 centers separate, and the only thing that can be in them is math and science. So a lot we used to see math was incorporated into fine motor, okay? No, now it has to be a center all by itself. The same thing with science. Yes.
It's interesting because we had somebody that we were working with, I don't know, maybe 3 years ago, whoever our all-star person is. she came and helped, and she had said that it was, that although we had to separate the math and science, that it was perfectly appropriate to put fine motor in with the math, and it was with the ECERS.
Well, it depends if it's a counting activity. So it could be, yeah, your fine motor could be in there if it's a math
Well, no,
activity.
she was talking about like Duplo blocks and Legos.
Yeah, but that can be counting.
Okay.
See, as long as it counts for counting, you're fine. So lacing cards, that's an example. Lacing cards is fine motor, it's not math. See what I'm saying? So yeah, that's absolutely right because you were able to do counting there.
Okay.
Yeah, good question.
I have a question,
Uh-huh.
sorry. With the emphasis on STEM so much, why, do you know why they make it so they have to be separate? Because they're so interlocked. And it's such an emphasis now in like, especially like public schools and older grades.
Because we have learning centers in a preschool classroom, and the focus, like, if you put math and science together, then a child might not get the science that they need. Like, you might have like a magnifying glass for them to look at snake skin inside something versus math objects of counting. Children need to understand, when I put two blocks together, that makes a what? A rectangle. And what we're finding is, if we separate those learning centers, they're going to learn math and science.
And then as they get older and understand that foundation, then they can start to come back. Okay, that makes sense. Yes.
So where would something like lacing be put in?
Well, it's a fine motor, because you still have to have a fine motor area. You still have to have one of those. So, fine motor. Yeah, yeah.
That's what she had to do was merge my math and fine motor.
Math, again,
So that, because she said that they did work together, so that's gonna be
so,
adding another area to the classroom.
That's right.
Which is gonna be very challenging in a limited size classroom.
That needs to be downstairs.
yeah, yes.
What if
your,
those
lacing cards aren't got numbers on them?
Yeah, and that would count. Then you could, now let me take that back again. It would have to have the number and a dot or something to represent, because if it's just a number, that would be rote style teaching, because that's just memorizing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. But if you had a lacing card with numbers, did your lacing card have numbers on them?
No, but I'm just thinking that would be an easy thing to do, to
Yeah.
put a number and then dot
So,
right next to the number.
right, so if I have a 1, I take a permanent marker and I'm going to put a dot next to it. A number 2, I'm going to put 2 dots. A number 3, 3 dots. Because we want children to understand the quantity. We want them to understand, yes, I see you can count to 10, but do you understand how many 9 is, how many 8 is, how many 7 is? And that's what we're finding, is children are getting the rote style memorization, but they're not understanding the amount of something. It's just like the alphabet, singing the alphabet. Okay, A, B, C, D, F, G, but can they identify a C from a cat? If you wrote the name cat, can they do that association? Okay. Social and teaching interactions are considered throughout ECERS 3, because again, a big part of it is the interactions that we're seeing. It's a 3-hour observation with no interview. The observer interviews, observes you for 3 hours, and that's it. No interview. Okay? Whereas R, ITERS and ECERS R, and the other ones, the school age, all of those, there was that interview part. Okay? And you're welcome to look at, I have an R here, look at the back if you wanted to see some of the questions that were asked in the parent staff. The real focus is how you utilize the materials in the classroom to interact and engage with children. Because I've done a lot of observations in my career, a lot. And I do have some teachers that sit and watch. You are not a babysitter. You do not sit and watch. You are active with the children. You should, at the end of the day, say to yourself, like, did I even sit down today and like take a break? Did I even go to the bathroom today? Like, how many of you have that ever happened? Like, did I even go to the bathroom today? Yeah, see, some of you are getting it. So again, because we want developmental best practices says teachers need to interact with young children to learn. Now, are there times that children need to work on their own? Absolutely. But teachers need to be there to engage when a child needs us.
There are also places too where we need to be doing observations for children for tracking behavior and things like that. So with that, I'm just going to sit because I'm not involved. Yes, it's a real issue.
Yeah. And we have it. We see it. Okay? We see it. All right. So here's some other key differences. Okay? So ECERS are, it used to be a substantial portion of the day. Some of you remember, some of you who have gone through an ECERS are. So it used to be 1/3 of the day needed to be spent in free choice time. So when I would go into an observation, I would ask for a schedule. And I would look at your schedule from arrival to departure. And 1/3 of the day had to be free choice. Okay? Now, very subjective because it might be I'm only coming from, a lot of times I do mine from 9 to 12, okay, 8 to 11. Might be on your schedule in the afternoon that there's going to be free play from 2 to 3, and that never happens, but it's on there. So I have to count that because the observation is only for 3 hours. So I have to count that, and I didn't see it. One thing about the ECERS 3, it's what I observe during that time. Yes.
Is that uninterrupted?
Yes.
Okay, so like because in the 4s, we will, as the children are doing their free play, we will get them over one at a time to work on like their writing or if we're working on numbers that day. So it's as a collective uninterrupted?
Well,
or
like what you're, because what you're, but because free play is free play. And what you would do would be teacher directed, okay? And so free play is considered child directed. So
even if it's just one kid at a time, while the rest of
it still wouldn't, because see, that child's not getting that amount of free time. Okay.
We were told once that you could ask, and if they chose to, that it was an option. So you could say, "Would you like to come and work with me?" If they said no, that they were allowed to say no.
I'm not going to answer you yes or no on that because I'm not going there. I don't know. Again, some things I will not answer for you because I don't know. I just
If you saw it happening when you were observing.
I wouldn't count it. I wouldn't count it because it's free play.
With our 3.5 hours that the children are here, it is hard to get all the specials in and not give them full hour of uninterrupted play without asking them to come do something, whether it is like but that's our deal here. Holiday, I don't know, you know.
Now, half-day programs, so let's say that, I don't know, upon arrival, children get 15 minutes of free choice, and then 45 minutes while they're there, I would count that.
so it can be separated. It doesn't have to be a continuous.
It doesn't need to be, like, I would not count it if it was like, it needs to be an hour, but if I see that it's totally free choice time in that 15 minutes and then that 45, I would think most raters would count that. Most raters would, okay?
So
In other words,
broken up.
stars is here, do not ask for the children's really special.
Exactly.
See, I'm not gonna just say it, guys. Don't ask.
Don't do.
I can't say that.
So no writing, nothing. Put it all away.
So,
Oh, ma'am. You'd like to, but I'm not gonna tell you this.
My room is old. I'll answer too much for it.
And you just hope that no child's gonna say, when you gonna call me to come do this?
You promised me yesterday.
Well, here's the thing, like, we do journals upstairs, so if like a kid says, are we gonna do journals today? If you would like to, go ahead, but I'm not gonna make you do it, go for it. Go for it, it's free choice, there you go.
Okay, so I've already talked about this. Remember that the adult-related item, it's been eliminated, so there's not that anymore. It's just a 3-hour observation. And then in ECERS R, there was like pre-academic. It was very limited pre-academic. So now there's increased emphasis, and I'm going to go over the new indicators in just a little bit because now there is some for literacy and math for children understanding concepts and reading. So I'm going to go over that in just a little bit. Okay. ECERS R, center materials. A lot of ECERS R, guys, was just counting. I mean, it was all about your numbers. So a classroom that didn't have a strong teacher in it, but had a wealth of materials, could score really high, okay? Whereas now, center materials focus on how teachers use the center materials with the children, how you engage with the children. So if I can give you any advice, if you get chosen to do an observation, if you get chosen, your classroom gets chosen to do the scale, interact. Now, you still take the child's lead, okay? It's not teacher directed, it's child directed. But you interact with the child. Like, for example, if they're building and they put 2 square blocks together, you just put 2 square blocks together. What shape did you just make? Well, you're gonna, if they say rectangle, if they didn't say, well, let's think about this. When we put 2 blocks together, you just made a rectangle. Look, that's a rectangle over there. That's one over there. So you're going to use that environment to help them understand. They just made a rectangle, but using the environment to help them relate that rectangle with other things around. Okay? Like the vent, that's a rectangle. So again, using the environment, when a child has learned, I just put 2 blocks together to make a rectangle. Time required for gross motor. It used to be, and again, we would look at your schedule. It had to be 1 hour for an 8-hour program. Now they have to see gross motor. 30 minutes of gross motor during that 3-hour observation. Have to. Okay?
So does that, just 30 minutes on the playground?
Wherever. Inside, outside, whatever.
So it could be 20 minutes on the playground and 10 minutes.
Music and dancing or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, whatever, but it has to be physically gross motor, arms, legs, torso.
You have to be at 30 minutes as a chunk. Counting, yeah, and without
again-
walking to the playground.
I'm gonna, now that was not walking.
We have that same time.
I love the way she
Probably
thinks.
3.5 hours and 9 classrooms, there's not enough time to get all 9 classrooms for 30 minutes on the playground. Well, I guess 8 if you don't.
Well,
it would have
the first
to be-
30, the first 3 hours.
I'm gonna ask about that and let you know, okay?
Yeah, they go out.
But only if they stay.
If they stay, they go out.
But only if they stay until lunch.
Yeah.
So his is like, leave at 11:30.
Wrote that down, I'm gonna let you know,
Okay.
because I do not want to give you wrong
There's
information.
a lot of classes, they will then do, either go for a walk outside if it's, a nice day, or they'll do music and movement in the classroom, or this year, yay, we get to have music and movement as an actual special. So they do get it, it's just not necessarily 1:30 on, yeah.
But we have to remember too, though, that sometimes the music activities aren't as all body movement encompassing, because, I mean, I know.
Right, if it's just like a finger player sitting.
Or,
down.
yeah, they're working with an instrument, they may be sitting and using an instrument, but that's not incorporating their whole body.
Right.
So,
And gross motor
Well,
is
that's not
arms, legs, torso. Yep. Now, this is just something that is changed because for ECERS R, it was not required for helmets, but if you want to get all the way up to gross motor for a 7, helmets are now required for a 7 under gross motor for a helmet. So that's just, one of the things, okay? So, one thing with, ECERS R is there was a greeting and departure, but then greeting and departure is no longer on the ECERS 3. The reason being is because if I got to to do an observation and I got there at 8:30 and all children were there at 8, I totally miss greeting. And if I leave at 12, you're not going to see departure. So again, you know, that was hard. So that's been excluded. All right, so ECERS R, meal snack emphasis, interaction and self-help. So these are the things that, and you can kind of see the difference here. You can see that there's more of an interaction on this, but children encouraged to eat independently. Children help during meals and snacks. Meal and snack time, there's conversation. So now, what we're looking at, children encouraged to help during meal and snack time. There is some staff-child conversation, because if a teacher has to get up, okay, I can't put a negative on there, because she has to get up and help clean up a spill with a child before another child gets hurt. Because remember, safety's first, then healthy, and then the learning environment. Atmosphere is relaxed with many conversations, and then staff actively, teach children self-help skills. So tell me some self-help skills you teach during mealtime. Pouring their own drink. Opening, whatever it is, their food, helping with their fine motor. Who
I
else?
was gonna say, right now, it's been kind of hard with COVID, because we've had to get their spoons for them.
Yes.
Not let them touch community stuff.
Yeah, and here's the thing. We talked about this morning too, is that a scale won't happen if there's any kind of COVID regulations. And we know all regulations have been dropped. Now, tomorrow, there could be regulations again. We don't know. Every day is different.
And we have safety, we have protocols that they're not making us do, but we as a
That's
school
right.
are doing.
Yeah, yeah.
As we talked about.
And
How does that work though?
I don't
with
know.
ECERS?
I don't know. Because COVID's a new thing for all of us when it comes, this has nothing in here about COVID.
Right.
So that would be something that you would speak with your coach about on what are they doing there. So if they did come to a scale and you guys did have something, I don't know, maybe they would mark NA on there and it wouldn't get scored. I don't know. That's a question to ask your coach. Yeah, that's something to ask her. So, remember how I told you there are new language and literacy? Yes.
I have a question about the conversation, yeah? Because I remember the training before it was more encouraged about, speaking during the meal times. Now you said minimal conversation. So what does that mean?
Well, here's what that means. Remember when I went over this? Okay, so to get a 3, it was minimal conversation. To get a 5, it was, what next word that we used?
Moderate.
Many. See, we've got many here. So that's what we have to think about. Remember how you move up a little bit?
No, I was misreading. I thought
Yeah,
it was
no.
many conversations. I was like, what do they do?
No, that's a good question. Thank you for bringing it up. But remember, we kind of go to 1, 3, 5, and 7. Okay? So we've got some and many. Okay? Does that answer your question?
So we do our staff as a choice during their free time. They get ready for themselves, they get their snack, they sit down, they have their snack, they clean up their snack. And children who choose not, who don't want to have a snack, would just simply choose not to come. I mean, how would that work in with that kind of a scale? Or do we need to make another because we stopped doing it so that we wouldn't have another big transition with having music, with having chapel, with having outside time. It was just one less transition, especially there were some children who just absolutely did not want to have snacks. So we've let it be an option, and very, self-initiated, a lot of self-help, and we're obviously there monitoring and helping and providing support and talking with the children and, but it's
Right.
not everybody sitting down together having a snack time.
Well, honestly, I've never observed snack because it's in the afternoon. Okay, I observe a meal, whether it's breakfast or lunch.
Well, we have a mid-morning snack. The kids
We don't have
yeah,
like
They would observe.
I would make myself a note, Rhonda, and ask Tammy about that one. I would, yeah, because honestly, I don't know if I've ever observed a snack before, a mid-morning snack, because I don't know if I
Now,
have.
they do all sit down for lunch together, so
Right.
that happens, but during the observation, they wouldn't.
Right.
Well,
So,
Yeah, if they did 8:30 to 11:30, they would be.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying,
fried.
yeah.
So, I'm gonna have Rhonda write that down, and that would be a good question to ask your all-service coach for that. Yeah.
Well, given that, if you do it that way, then does that cut into your free play time?
Well, the children choose when they come, so it's
But
still
is that
child-directed.
considered
Yeah.
play?
Yeah, that's a good question, and honestly, I don't have an answer for you there.
Okay.
So, that's why I'm gonna have direct to Tammy to, ask Tammy, so, yeah. One thing I do not wanna ever give you misinformation, and so that's why, go to your coach and find out.
She was the one that told me I could put all the fine motor stuff in my mouth.
So, Eckers are, okay, Eckers are, remember how I told you the wording changed, okay? Language and reasoning, and now it's language and literacy, okay? Big difference here, okay? Because they've added 5 new language and literacy items. So, language and reasoning used to be looking at books and pictures, encouraging children to communicate, using language to develop reasoning skills, and informal use of language. Okay, now look at the difference here. 5 new language and literacy items. Helping children expand vocabulary. What staff talk about. So tell me a way that you expand children's vocabulary. What's a way you would do that?
Well, get a book with a new word for them.
Yes, so new vocabulary, okay? What else? What are other ways? Songs.
If a child is playing with like a car and they say car and you say, oh, right, you a red car. Or,
Yes.
"You're a big red car.
Yes, your car has
Your big red car has wheels.
yeah,
Let's count
4
that.
doors, and this car has 2 doors, and see all that corporation that's going into there? That car is bigger than that car. How? Again, the child might say it's taller, it's wider, it's longer, I don't know, whatever they might say. What's other ways you might help expand children's vocabulary?
We had one kid who said he liked vehicles. And that
Ah.
was a new word.
Yes.
For the kids.
Yes.
What's vehicles?
Yeah,
So
I
we're
like
used
that.
to different kinds of cars and trucks and things to go.
Yes. What else?
Rhyming.
Rhyming, yes. Because we know how important rhyming is when it comes to phonological awareness. We know how important that is. What else? What else for vocabulary? Expand children's vocabulary.
Maybe like the word of the day.
Word of the day.
Yes.
What?
Reading weather.
So like today, okay, we could say, what would be some bigger vocabulary words we can use? Because I guess that's thunder. Was that thunder? What did we decide? Thunder or moving chairs? Okay. So what can we say about that? Rumbling. You said that. Rumbling, okay? What other words could we use for today? Stormy. Huh? Okay, great. So guys, vocabulary, that's what they're looking at, is building upon vocabulary. You know what scaffolding is? Okay, scaffolding is building on prior knowledge that children, it's just like a scaffold, you know? How do you make a scaffold? Well, you put one level, and then you make another level, and then you make another level. It's just like it is. So we're going to build on prior knowledge, okay? So think about that. Anybody else want to add to that? I don't think you guys got any trouble with that one. Encourage children to use language. We want them to talk. So asking what types of questions encourages conversation. Open-ended. How, when, what, why, and where. Because if I say, what is it? It's green. It's green paper. But tell me about your picture. It's a cow jumping over the gate to get to the food that the farmer brought. Okay, so again, we're expanding that vocabulary. So again, open-ended questions. Anybody else?
I think that comes into play a lot too, as they learn to problem solve with each other. You know, how are you feeling? You tell your friend how you're feeling.
And descriptive words on emotions is also helps that vocabulary. Staff use of books with children. Are they engaged in the story? So, I don't know, brown bear, okay? Brown bear. You've read it over and over and over again. Well, let's make that book come alive by bringing props in to support it, like a brown bear, like a red bird. So bringing those props in, whether it's finger plays, whether you have taken a coloring, this is when I'll tell you coloring sheets are okay. You can take a coloring sheet for yourself, color it, laminate it, put it on a popsicle stick, and you don't even have the book. You don't even need the book. You can just use those to do brown bear, and letting the children tell the story versus the teacher. What's some other books that children know by heart that you could do that with? The Very Hungry Caterpillar. There's another example. Are children engaged? Oh yeah. When you bring those props in, engage the children. And I know you guys know this, but you've got to make sure when you read to young children that you read to them and they can see the pictures, because language skills, a phonological awareness, we know it's the sounds that they hear. If they hear the words that are coming out of your mouth and they associate it with the picture, okay? So I'm going to hold it like this. I'm not going to read like this. Brown bear, what do you see?
There was nothing.
Oh, I didn't see that. Let me see that picture again. But guess what? If you hold it up here, the children will be able to see the pictures as you read to them. Children will also associate, oh, Miss Courtney's reading the book today. She holds the book on this side. But when Miss Rhonda reads, she holds the book on this side. So children will turn. They know.
They know, don't they?
So,
I'm sorry about that is too. The younger ones, when I'm changing the diaper, I'm left-handed, so they'll lay their head on this side, and then when one of my other assistants are doing it, they'll be on this side. And then one of them was so smart at the end, he goes, I don't want to lay on your side, I want to lay on the Celine side.
But they use that association. Interesting. Encourage children to use the books. Do children show interest? Okay, so this will help you understand, are your books in your classroom developmentally appropriate? Are they books that excite children to want to look at? This is a great way to evaluate your books in your classroom. Guys, it's not about quantity, it's about quality of your books. Remember, books, children need to see the cover of the book, not the end, because children can't read, so they have to see the covers. It's okay if they cover up a little bit like this, but children need to see the cover of the book because they associate the cover of the book with books. They know that that's their favorite book.
But there's still a number of books that
there's still the counting part. And it'll never be able not to have that because of the material, because that's a big part of it. Become familiar with print. Identifying letters is not enough. Okay. What other ways do you use print in the classroom besides identifying letters. What are other ways they can do that?
Well, when the children, for instance, draw or paint or something, and I ask them about, and tell me about what's in there, a lot of times I'll just do dictation on the bottom of it.
And they're watching you.
Yeah.
Right, like they are watching you. Oh, you just wrote the name, you just wrote a T like me. And then you say back, yes, I just wrote the word turtle because you said this is my turtle. And his name's Tommy. So they start associating that T with the T of the turtle. What are other ways that you encourage children to understand print? What's other ways? Labeling.
When we read a story that has like a big word like power, bam, we'll look at that and, those big letters mean that, they really mean it, or it's, really exciting or really big, or the Z's that, when they're a story that somebody's sleeping, what do those Z's mean? Those Z's mean they're sleeping. And so just finding ways when they see letters, even that are set apart in some way, identifying them and not just reading past them or looking past them.
Yeah, I mean, guys just use it all the time. When you are walking out to the playground, and I don't know, a child sees a sign on the door that says stop. That's the same letter as my name, Sam. They're making that association. And again, making sure it's at children's eye level. I talked about this morning, but how do I know what is children's eye level?
Get down on your knees.
Get down on your knees.
I know.
And it's what you see right here, okay? And we talked earlier, toddlers, you kind of want to even get down further. But anything here is what children see. Children do not walk around like this, okay? They look straight ahead. You wouldn't want them to do that because what would happen? And then we know, what have I said? Safety is our main concern. So, that means anything above is considered decoration. So if you've got stuff above children's eye level, it's decoration. It's not going to count. Okay? It's got to be at children's eye level. I know some of you are like, I have no more space. Back of cubbies, walls, doors. I've got all those that you can have. All right, questions you have on the language and literacy. Again, guys, all of these is talking to children. That's what our big emphasis is talking to children. Talking with children, not at children, but with children. Giving children an opportunity to talk with you instead of at them. So, if I'm wanting to talk, I'm not going to stand over, okay? I'm going to get down and I want to be at eye level with that child. How do you feel when somebody talks over you? Is it intimidating? It is for me. So coming down at children's eye level. All right, so sand and water. Sand and water used to be an item. It used to, in ECERS R, it used to be item 23. It's gone now. And now it is incorporated into nature and science. It's incorporated into there. Okay. Accessibility of materials. Again, it used to be substantial portion of the day. That's what that means. A third of the day. But now it's 1 hour, okay, of materials accessible to children for a 3-hour observation. That means, guys, if you have containers that have toys in it, if there is a lid on it, it won't count. Because if a child can't get a lid on, that means it's not what? Accessible to the children. Does that mean I can't have lids on material? No. That means when it's time for free choice time, what are you going to do?
The lids come off.
Take the lids off.
Well, our kids had this,
Kinetic sand.
kinetic sand, and they had all their own stuff. Does that count as that?
Well, it's gonna be in nature and science, but it's not gonna count as sand and water. Okay, that kind is it the stuff that looks like
sticky sand.
Yeah, and that, so sticky sand, you can't pour, you can't sift, you can't, dump, it has to be sand and water. And here's the thing, the books, okay, Marty, did you say you had some of those?
Yeah.
Okay.
Everybody should have one of those.
So guys, that is your cheat sheet to help you know. So if you're not familiar, then look in there under science and nature of what you'll need, okay? Materials versus interaction, and again, focusing on counting materials. Now, it's how you use the materials, okay? I think I have stressed enough on using the materials. You're not watching, you're engaging with the children.
I have one more question about the free choice situation. I heard before that, you kind of should make an extra watch about the sentence where they are. But some kids, if we have like send there, they all want to send contact or like send all the time. So how to manage that?
So the only time that you should limit the amount of time a child is in a center, if it is a popular center where you've added new things. Sand and water could be one of them. But any other, children should have freedom to move in and out of learning centers if space is available for them. The only time we put any limit on a learning center, okay, is if it's like a very I don't know, maybe you brought in something cool to go in the sensory table, okay? Let's see, well, what's coming up soon? What holiday's coming up? Okay, Halloween. So tell me something you might put in your sensory for Halloween.
Plastic spiders.
Okay, plastic spiders. Okay, well, that Monday, the first day you put, the kids, like everybody wants to go in there, okay? That would be a time that you would limit it to however many children it is. Every child would get a turn, and then after every child gets a turn, then whoever wants to go in there can. Any other learning center should never have a time limit on it. Now, it can have the number of children, okay? And if there's 4 friends that can go into the dramatic play area, and 4 friends are in there, okay, no one else can go in there until a friend comes out.
Now, and maybe, I don't know if this is what you were asking, but like if those 4 friends have been in there for like 30 minutes and they're not leaving and other children haven't had a turn, you can't make those children leave so that other children have a turn?
No. You are stifling their creativity.
Okay.
Only if, remember, only if it's a special activity that you just brought in.
So how do you teach
So first
fairness?
day,
And sharing. Okay, you have a fairness chart? Use a fairness chart? Okay, so let's think about this for a minute, okay? Do all children know how to engage in a learning center as soon as they walk in there?
No.
Okay, no, they don't. Some children, they have to look around, they have to go look around the learning center, takes them a couple of minutes, and then they decide, that's what I want to play with, okay? And then they have just got engaged in this activity, and you tell them they have to switch. What have you just implied to those children? What have you just told those children?
That how they feel and what they want to do.
What is it?
You don't respect what they're
That's
doing.
exactly right. You don't respect their decision. I wasn't quick enough. Miss Courtney didn't think I was quick enough in picking what I wanted to play with, and now she's telling me I have to go to another learning center, and I just got started on this puzzle that I looked for it for 5 minutes, I found it, now she's telling me I have to leave that learning center.
What is the other child though that doesn't get a turn in that? What do you
Do
tell
you not use a fairness chart?
I mean, I don't know if anyone does in our, I've never
If you
heard
want
of.
to learn how to use a fairness chart, I can write
We
one.
use like sand timers. Like
I just want to know what it is.
Okay, here's a fairness
I
chart.
had it in my classroom when every day a child, they're assigned a name tag or whatever based on the day. And on that day, those children get to choose first.
where they wanna play, and they take that with them. And then on Tuesdays, these friends get to choose first, and then,
So every child has a
Oh,
choice the whole week to choose first, second, third, fourth, and fifth. Every child has that opportunity. Then you don't have to worry about, oh God, who did I let go in there yesterday? I think it was, no, it was Sam. No, it was Kevin. Well, look what you've done there. So a child saying, in our fearful children, our temperament fearful children, they're never gonna say a word. Right. They're just gonna be like, okay, I don't get another turn, I don't get another turn again. It's gonna be your feisty and flexible children that are gonna say, hey, I didn't get a turn. A fairness chart, guys, makes life so much easier in your classroom. So, you're gonna put Monday through Friday, and you're gonna decide, are you gonna do a red circle on Monday, a blue circle on Tuesday, a yellow circle on Wednesday, an orange circle on Thursday, and a blue circle on Friday? If I have 20 children in my classroom, and I've got 5 days a week, how many children are gonna be under each circle? 4. So then I'm gonna have their names, and then on today's Monday, I'm getting ready to dismiss to go to free choice. If you are a Monday red circle, you can hop to whatever center you want to go to. And if, at the beginning of the school year, that's going to be Tommy, Sandy, Sam, and Brittany. Those are the children for Monday. Okay? Now, here's a quiz. You get to Tuesday. Got my 4. Oh, wait a minute. So Monday, they go first, and then Tuesday second, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Then I get to Tuesday. Tuesday's going first. Who's going last? Monday. Who's going second?
Wednesday.
Then I get to Wednesday. Wednesday gets to choose. Who's going last?
Tuesday.
Who's going second?
Thursday.
It's a no-brainer.
And are there gonna be tiers? Yes, there are tiers, but it's, you had your turn yesterday, and, it's these friends, and you'll have another turn, and they learn it.
They learn it.
Now, it is a little more confusing on Tuesday, Thursday days versus Monday, Wednesday, Friday children, and then 5 days.
Because they probably
That's a little.
yeah, their timing, their concept of time, so they will not always, especially at the beginning of the year, they probably won't remember.
But I like that a lot better, because, for years now, we've had like one little cluster of boys that take over the block area and they want to be there for the whole time. And then other kids never ever get a chance to get in the block area. And so in order to alleviate some of that, we have partway through the playtime said, we're gonna share the block area, so, we give them a time warning, in 5 minutes, the block area friends are gonna clean up and we'll let other friends have choices.
And you've got those one children who always pick last because they're followers, they're not our leaders. They get to actually pick first. You've also got it, guys, to where the same group of boys aren't always playing together. They have to find other friends in the classroom. And we know how crucial it is. We know that research says that children need to understand how to build friendships during the preschool years. We know that there is actually a connection between children who build their friendships in preschool linked to later on in life if they can keep friends. Okay? So, fairness chart, guys, is the only way to go. And then you do not have to worry about who went first, second, third, and fourth. Okay? Put the children's names underneath it. You can even put the little circle at their cubby so they remember that they're cubby. So when you say, friends, we're getting ready to go outside, I need my red circles to come to the door. Only red circles come to the door. I need my blue circles to come to the door. I need my yellow circles instead of, all right, it's time to go outside, everybody go to the door. Well, we're just waiting for a disaster to happen. Okay? Fairness chart can be used all the time. If you're a red circle, you're going to go wash your hands and get ready for
on their group spots on the
yeah.
floor.
And then I have, a lot of teachers will change it monthly because you can help children also learn their colors, shapes, whatever. I have some teachers that will do their figures based on, like, right now, some of the teachers that I know use buses, different color buses, because it's going back to school. Or apples, different color apples. And then leaves during November or whenever, turkeys, and so you can think about changing them up, because we don't want children to get used to that same color all the time, like change up the colors. And then at the end of the year, you can even do different kind of colors, like even like a gray or brown, starting to help them learn those secondary colors after they learn their primary colors. All right, so math. ECERS it was about counting. This used to wear me out. I still have to count, but not as much. Like, you have to tally, okay? Now, this is what we're looking at. Math in daily, these are the three things, these are three that have been added to ECERS 3. Math in daily events, not about having math materials, but how math is drawn into the lives and activities of the children. Okay? So let's count how many friends are here today. 1, 2, 3. We have 16 friends. We have 20 friends that usually come. So 16, let's count how many friends aren't here. 17, 18, 19, 20. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to use my hands. I'm going to count with the children. 5 little monkeys jumping on the bed. 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm going to count that. Let's see this week how many sunny days we had versus rainy days. We had 1, 2, 3. I'm going to write the number 3 down here, and children can count 1, 2, 3. 3 suns, and then 2 cloudy. I'm going to write a number 2 because that associates 2 cloudy with the number 2. I'm going to use math all the time with young children. How many boys do we have here today? How many girls? How many of our friends have on tennis shoes today? How many of us have flip-flops on? You see how you use it in your everyday teaching. And it's all about counting. It's all about using those hands and counting. So what do I do if there's more than 10? I'm going to grab a friend to come up and help me. They're going to hold their hands up too, and they're going to count with me. Understanding written numbers, how teachers introduce numbers to children in a meaningful way. I just gave you an example. Calendar is another one. Sometimes calendar it's so much rote style teaching because all it is memorization. Numbers should be on calendar as they occur. You do not put the entire 31 days on a calendar starting August the 1st, okay? You put the number on as it occurs. So what is today? The 10th. Okay, today is the 10th. So we are going to put number 10 on our calendar, and then we are going to count our counting bears, and we're going to count 10 into our container. See how it's see-through? So I can do it a couple ways. We can just stack the counting bears for them to understand 10, or we can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Wow, we've got 10 in here. When we first started with 1, it was a really small number. But now look. And then think when we get up to 31, we're going to fill this up. And then guess what? We're going to start all over again with number 1. So children start understanding number concept. They also start understanding about a calendar. That a calendar starts from a small number to a medium number to a large number, which is sequencing. Small, medium, and large. A concept that they need to know. Okay? And then we're going to start all over again. Okay?
So would you just add one there each day, or would you count them all?
No, you count it every day. So you're going. So what I would do, I would put 9 in here, and then I'd say we added 1 more, and now we've got 10. And then tomorrow I'm going to take them all out again. We're going to count them again. And I'm going to make sure it's clear because I want children to see the bears. You could barely see them, and now look what's happening. And it's okay, because guess what I'm going to do with this now? This can go into my math center with just this number, because today we focused on number 10. So look what just happened. We used it in circle time, and now I'm going to put it over in my math center, and they're going to start understanding that number. They're going to take them out, they're going to count them. Guess what they might also do? They might also do classification. They might group all the yellow ones together, all the blue ones together, and then count. I have 3 yellow, I have 3 blue, I have 4 red. Which is more, 3 or 4? You see, guys, like, you've got to just expand the knowledge of math with young children, and that's all it takes. Is these counting bears. You have started it early in the morning, and it can progress all the way.
We would also, for the pre-K, we would also do with more or less. Because if there were 31 days in the month, I would have 31 whatever objects, and then they would count them in, and then we'd say, well, are there more days left? Anyway, you can just, it's just
all kinds of ways. Yeah. You can add, subtract, all those things. Yeah. Math materials and activities, not just about having the materials out, but instead how you will teach and engage children. And I just put some examples on here. Counting children who are present and absent. 2 square blocks put together make a rectangle. Counting children when standing at the door. Figure plays using counting bears to show children the number of the day. How can you incorporate math? This is a big one. And remember what it said earlier? Math and science, adding these 2 centers to your classroom will definitely help you enhance your score. Okay. I'm going to find out about her saying fine motor into there. I'm going to ask one of my colleagues that knows this scale. I mean, she's excellent. She was actually supposed to do this training today, but her husband's ill, and she knows this skill better than I do, but she couldn't be here, so we had to have it. Okay. Let's see where we were. Okay, so scoring the ECERS 3. Again, there are 6 subscales and 35 items. Space and furnishing, personal care routines, language and literacy, learning activities, interaction, and program structure. So let's see how those are divided into the subscales. So, what are they for space and furnishing? These are the items. Remember how I told you there were 35, and you can get a score of a 1 to a 7 in each one? This is what is looked at in space and furnishing. They look at indoor space, furniture for care, play, and learning, room arrangement for play and learning, space for privacy, child-related display, space for gross motor play, and gross motor equipment. What are they looking for in personal care? Meals and snacks, toileting and diapering, health practices, and safety practices. What are they looking for in language and literacy? Helping children expand their vocabulary, encouraging children to use language, staff use books with children, encouraging children's use of books, and becoming familiar with print. One of the things with books now, as you're going to see on the material list, is that some of your books have to relate to your theme of whatever your theme is for the week. What are the learning activities? We have fine motor, art, music, movement, blocks, dramatic play, nature science, math materials and activities, math and daily events, understanding written numbers, promoting acceptance of diversity, and appropriate use of technology. What are they looking for in interaction? Supervision of gross motor activities, individualized teaching and learning, staff-child interaction, peer interaction, and discipline. I still don't like that word discipline because discipline is a negative. Punishment and discipline are negative. Remember, we promote positive guidance with young children, but it's still discipline. What survey for program structure, looking at transitions and waiting times, free play, and whole group activities for play and learning. ECERS 3. This tool can help you make needed improvements in the quality of activities, experiences, interaction, and instruction. Every teacher possesses the power to transform the quality of life and learning in themselves and in their students at any time. So here's what you're going to do. You've got your checklist there, and I will give Rhonda a blank one if you like to have a blank one also.